Don't plug in the audio to
It's, what is it, 20 past? Right, guys. Shut up. Okay. Yeah, welcome to the Esports Open Meeting. There's your entertainment. I danced.
Nice.
Right, we'll start with the Constitution. Those of you that are already in societies know that you have to have a Constitution. Who'd have thought? They're really boring, usually long documents that are not very well struck to, and you have to have one for an SU purpose. So we had a really shitty one that was wrote by Alex, so tap him on the back if he ever turns up again. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, so obviously this is the rewritten one for this year and hopefully future years. As you can see, there's all sorts of kind of stuff on there about the society, partnerships, networking, Keele Krakens, all of the sort of nonsense that needs to go into a constitution. It will be available when it's finished, which it is not right now. But yeah, so that's the constitution. Any questions? Brilliant. Cool. Next thing. Twitch. Ollie, do you want to talk about Twitch? Cool. I'm going to share this chair.
Alright. So you guys all saw that we joined the Twitch student program thing, which essentially is just a way to get partnered for your Twitch account without going through the usual means, because there's no realistic way we're going to hit the numbers for that. But Twitch recognizes that it's important that we have access to this sort of thing. So we have that application now. We just need to speak to Student Finance and get that sorted, because they need tax records and stuff like that, which is long and annoying to do. But once that's done, you should be able to sub to the channel.
Yeah,
and get
so
all the benefits.
the aim is to get it done by Easter. So by the Easter holidays, we should have our sub button, which means we should be able to get money for the society. Anyone who's got Amazon Prime can get a free Twitch Prime. So according to their analytics, Twitch's analytics, there's 3,000 students at Keele with Amazon Prime. If every one of them subscribed to our channel, then the society would be getting £7,000 a month.
Which isn't really going to happen.
It's not going to happen. We're not going to get all 3,000 people clicking that button. But obviously the plan is to kind of get as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So even if you've got friends who don't give a fuck about Twitch, just get them to click the button anyway.
Yeah. So the conditions which we have to meet, we've got to be clipping stuff, making sure we're active and all that. Like, stuff that already happens, but the main one is 9 hours a week of stream time. We kind of hit that when we do the Newell streams. Kind of. We're usually a little bit short. Hello. So I tend to just do a random thing on the side of it. But obviously when Newell goes away into the off season, we're going to have to figure out what to do with that. Most likely just some anti-socials and stuff like that. At the moment it is just me doing the streams, and we want that to move on so other people can join it. Obviously we can't just be giving away the account details, so we need to figure out how to do that, but that will probably be more for new committee to deal with in vast detail, but that's something to note. So what is next? That obviously, that being one of them, we want to get more people actually able to stream. One of the things which you get access to when you are a partner is a thing called stream teams. You'll see like a lot of professional esports teams have them, and you kind of all fall under your own page and stuff, and you're all connected. It's like a community, but better, if you know what that is on Twitch. So we'll have that. So you guys, all your personal streams will be able to be linked to ours. And I think that's about it. We just need to keep up on the grind, really.
Yeah, I mean that realistic as possible thing. That's what I meant about potential income / realistic income. Realistically, if everyone who's a member subscribes to the channel, then we'll still be making several £100s a month, which is still pretty cool.
Which, of course, a decent amount of it will go towards like equipment and stuff like that. For the stream, we want to improve that to a point, but then we can really start investing in like actual gear and stuff, so that the money's not going nowhere.
Yeah, one of the things that is being looked at, and there's an SU meeting at some point this year, but basically looking at paying members to do stuff, kind of hiring students as services, so potentially paying casters and that sort of stuff. Obviously it's all kind of very difficult. There's a lot of legal stuff they have to try and not get caught in, / not get screwed over by. So that is one of the potential outcomes of this this money that we'll be getting. Twitch as a whole, what they want is basically a global university network. So they're already set up in North and South America. They've just had meetings with Poland, Ireland, Turkey and Korea, so they're all setting up similar things to like the Newell. So the kind of aim is that teams that are good enough from the Newell will then compete against teams from other countries, and it'll kind of become like a global network. So obviously we're one of the 5 universities that were selected for this programme, so obviously we're a part of that. Yeah.
Yes. Any questions before we move on? No? Cool. Sick. Lastly, Ash. Amazing, Ash. Oh, I wasn't doing minutes. Someone else, fuck. I'll do it after.
Class secretary.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it?
Introduce yourself.
Just don't look over there when it's on the laptop. Yeah.
What's on the laptop?
Nothing.
Okay, I'm Ashley. I'm in charge of varsity right now with the meetings and things. So we've got a date and location. So it's 14th, 15th of April, which is the last weekend of your Easter vacay. So come back 2 days early. It's going to be fun, I promise. It's going to be in the ballroom in the SU. Squirrel's going to be open as well, so you've got your drinks and food in there. Honestly, just get smashed, I don't care.
Not if you're playing. Get smashed after.
You can still beat staffs either way. Games being played, so confirmed we've got like Rocket League, Overwatch, League of Legends, Siege, Hearthstone, Smash, that's it. Thanks, Valen. Yeah, but with CSGO, they say they can't get the players. Dota apparently is a dead game. I say apparently. Dota's a dead game. So that's pretty much it. One thing that I wanted to ask is, on the day when it's running, I will need like a few people just to help out. So like, if people are using their own setups, for instance, that's another thing. You can use your own peripherals if you're playing. Because people were like kicking up a fuss about that last year at varsity. And apparently staff's like, no, you can't. And I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid. Yeah, so you can use your own peripherals. And only people like to switch the mate in between games and things like that. And then people just to run around and do a few bits and bobs. So if you want to volunteer and help out, also if you apply for a committee role, it looks good. You can write it down and be like, oh yeah, I helped out before. Yeah, anyway. That's pretty much it, isn't it? That's all I've got to so far.
Yeah, we had a meeting with Overclockers today.
Yeah.
So they're providing us with all their stuff.
That's
good.
good. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about? Oh. Okay. You were technically first, Emma.
I assume it's going to be like a little spectator thingy. I mean, I know it'll be streamed or whatever.
Yeah. So like, it's going to be like open to the public, so anyone can attend. There'll be like a little seating area, which will be cute. We'll have like stalls from our sponsors. I know Overclockers are thinking about having like a VR thing set up on the side to play with. Oh, I know, fancy.
Yeah, the Squirrel will be doing food as well, so there's stuff like all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless someone breaks the oven again, which would be interesting.
It will start at 12. Is it PM when it just like hits 12 midday? Okay,
Midday.
Yeah. Yeah, on the Saturday, and on the Sunday it'll start at the same time. End times, don't really know, because I don't know how long the game's going to last. I don't really have like a fully set schedule as of yet. But it'll probably be around like 6, 7-ish in between there. It'll probably end, hopefully. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that CSGO couldn't get the numbers, and so they weren't taking part. I've come here as a representative of fighting games as a whole between Keele and staffs.
Okay, yeah.
If I told you that I could get easily 10 people from either side for games such as Street Fighter and
You can get it for Keele and staffs?
Yes, both easily.
Oh, awesome. I can get in touch with...
And probably bring setups too. All I'm particularly asking for is an extra bit of space in the room and names and game names on the poster, really. That's what I came here for.
Yeah, to be fair, I can like talk to Stu at staffs as well, see if he's cool with it. I mean, if you can get players there as well, I don't see why it would be an issue.
Definitely.
Because they have the Street Fighting Society, don't they? I think.
Yeah, they have, like-
So fighting games society
Yeah.
staffs that
Yeah, cool.
is-
To be fair, I can add that to that would actually kind of help because staffs have been unable to find the CS:GO players. Having extra gamies, it's an
If
odd
you
number,
were
so you have like a
looking into widening your audience, I'd recommend it.
definitely. I feel like yeah, we can definitely do that, right?
If you message the page, we'll
Yeah.
we'll get into that.
Or the email.
I'll probably ask you more
Yeah,
about
or
it as
the
well in
email.
terms of like format and stuff, just so I know how long it'll last and stuff. Awesome. Yes, Richie.
Do you want volunteers to message you, or is there going to be a poll on
Um,
something for it?
Message the page towards any committee member, just so like I know there's interest there, and so I've got like names I can collect, and then close to the time I'll like contact you so I can be like, oh yeah, you're going to be doing this for me. Can you do this kind of thing?
If you have any particular interest in what you want to do, also let us know that.
Yeah, if you want like a
Because,
specific.
if you're like very you're a very techie person, we need those people. Whereas if
Yeah.
you just want to be an admin that stands behind the teams whilst they play, then
Or just look pretty at the front.
How are we selecting the teams?
How are we selecting the teams? That's going to be down to the game reps, but it'll be like one team, or depending on like I know Smash is like a weird format. I don't play it, so I don't know how you do your setup. But usually just be like one team against each, potentially two for Rocket League. I'll see what Stu can do. Yes, Nathan.
So obviously, like we're gonna have like loads of different games and stuff there.
Mhm.
Let's say like League of Legends has hundreds of players, and
Yeah.
other games have less players. Are they all equally weighted towards the varsity,
Um,
or are some games that are like nationally, like the newer games, gonna have more weight to them towards like the overall winner?
it'll just be 1 point per whatever game you win.
Okay.
Just because that's the simplest way of doing it, and I can't be bothered to figure out a more complex system. Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Any other questions? Are we good?
Just make sure you're back in time.
Yeah.
Should be a good weekend.
I mean, if you know friends that are going to be on campus anyway, maybe because they're like an international student that like won't be going home during that time or something like that, just tell them to come down early. Like the SU is open 2 days early basically because of us. So
Get
Yeah.
smashed. Before exam stress. Cool.
okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Is it presentation time?
Let's committee member.
This one.
Is it presentation time?
Now I'll ask.
I trust you to click for me.
It depends.
I know it's a big job.
Where's the button?
Purple.
Is that,
Alright.
Issues
is
design.
that intentional?
I mean, it was like the first theme that came to us.
Tyler is like.
Alright, this is probably going to be the biggest part of the meeting and probably the reason that everyone is here. Thanks. This is probably the reason that everyone is here, pretty much. And that's about the committee for next year. We want to kind of talk about what we've currently done and what we want to do next year, some things that can improve, and some ideas for you guys to talk about. So, these are our society aims. They're kind of a bit more expensive than that, but that's kind of what we try to do. We try to support every game if we can, if there's a following for it. We try to make it feel competitive, but at the same time helping new players improve. And one of the biggest things we've been doing this year specifically is improving just UK esports as a whole. That's something that Matty's been working on quite a lot and Ollie's been working on quite a lot. Thanks. So what have we done so far? We've got sponsorships, quite a few. I'll get onto that a bit more later. We've got the Twitch affiliate partnership program, which Ollie's been working on. You guys already heard about that. A lot of social media is quite important for us. The SU often say that we're quite different to other societies and that social media is, we're quite big on social media. We kind of exist outside of the uni as much as we do inside it. Just something to think about. We've incorporated a little more than Newell. The Newell started reaching out to us. We reached out to them. They seem interested in like talking to each university specifically now. We've got our esports varsity, which you've heard about now, and we had the one last year, which staff's run. One of the things that's started popping up recently is esports unions.
Yeah, so this is this is one esports union that's been launched by a guy called Roy, who's from University Imperial, Imperial London. It's basically just a way of getting all the esports gaming esports focused gaming societies across the nation kind of unified. It's basically to avoid companies coming in and taking over for monetary gain. It's trying to keep it student-centric. For those who don't know, there is a company called Benchmark who are looking to create a tournament similar to Newell. In fact, they tried to buy out the Newell, but they didn't accept the offer.
They got a couple people, though.
Yeah, they've they poached a couple of staff members from Newell, and they've also got their biggest thing they've got backing from Bucks, which is like what all the sporting clubs are backed behind. Obviously, this is quite controversial. A, because Newell already exists. B, a lot of the sports people aren't very happy that esports is being clumped with them, and so obviously that's a development that is happening, and that's one of the reasons this union is being made. Not necessarily to stop that from happening, but to kind of make sure that if it happens, they're favouring students over the monetary side of things. Just for transparency, Twitch have signed an exclusivity contract with Newell for the next 5 years. So Benchmark will be allowed to use Twitch, but they will get zero promotional support from them, which obviously benefits Newell, but not necessarily benefits the students, which is what the union is for. So the constitution is being written and amended fairly regularly. Still not like an official thing. It's very much a work in progress, but obviously that's kind of the general update. So
Yeah. I mean, there was a couple of unions. There was the Foundation one that was at the start of the year. There was this one from a guy from Imperial. When we first saw them, we thought they were a really good idea, but as we kind of looked into it, we kind of realised that maybe they're not. But that could be something that you want to do differently if you're on committee next year. Something to think about.
Bill,
Yeah.
come on.
Oh, okay. We also, started working with the SU more tightly. Matty's been very good chums with everyone in the SU recently.
Yeah, there's a load of stuff going on behind doors. Most of it might not happen. Some of it may happen. It's very kind of hit and miss.
Yeah.
The biggest thing we're pushing for at the moment is to get esports its own location on campus to use religiously. One of the possibilities is one of the meeting rooms in the student union. There's also talks of kind of old classrooms or whatever. Obviously, this requires a lot of involvement from the union, like student union, or a lot of involvement from the university. So they're watching what we do very closely. Closely? That's not
Closely.
Closely.
It is now.
I've lost my track. Yeah, so they're, a lot of that sort of stuff. So our stuff like our sponsors, our social media presence, our Twitch, all kind of go towards this. So we as a society are quite talked about between senior members of the university. I've got a meeting with the marketing director in like a week's time to discuss how the university can be involved with the society and support us from there. So yeah, that's
one of the examples of that, I guess, would be the network that's now set up.
Yeah.
That's something that we didn't have when we first started being a society, but now we've worked on that, and now we have our own dedicated network that we can use basically whenever we want.
So for anyone that doesn't know, basically, when we hold an event, what IT will do, the university IT, so not the SU, they will turn on our own network, which they've assigned to us. They've also provided us with, is it 2 or
Two.
1?
2.
Two LAN switches to use. One's 24, and I think the other one's bigger.
I
Maybe.
think it's a 12 and a 24. 12 and 24.
Is it a 12 and a 24? Yeah.
Either
So-
way, that saved us a ton of money.
So yeah, they saved us a load of money for that, and obviously it's to use for events like LAN events and stuff like that. Yeah, shut up.
I mean, those of you who are the 24-hour streamers used then, so
Yeah.
that's a good example.
There is possible talk of getting Ethernet in accommodation, but that's like a big uphill battle that needs to be had like over a long period of time. But obviously we are kind of ambassadors for that, so they're using what we're doing as support towards that to kind of get internet back into halls, because I'm sure anyone that's tried to play anything from on campus has screamed violently through the walls because Wi-Fi is bollocks. But yeah, cool. Next slide.
And it's just a few little things we worked on. We started doing the fortnightly socials mostly. We want to keep those going next year, especially. We want to make esports not just about people playing games. We know that you're all, humans. You want to go out and socialize. So
Flip out.
Oliver wants to go to Flip Out. If anyone wants to join him.
if you put that in your manifesto, Ollie will guaranteed vote for you. We're trying to get the new streams more consistent. We've worked on our society visuals. So like all the logos and stuff are now updated, all the Twitch overlays, all that sort of stuff. And more streams, more open meetings like this right now. So some ideas for the future, some things we've always talked about, but maybe we don't have time to do them. Or it's kind of going on to what you guys want to do. We want to integrate the university more. There's been this kind of talk about an esports module that's kind of been going around. But
So
it's not a
staffs
solid
have
thing.
got an esports degree, which is bollocks.
Yeah.
That starts in September.
This is not on live stream, I swear.
Staffs is bollocks. Ella, if you're watching this, I'm really sorry. Yeah, so they've got their esports degree, and basically one of the ideas Keele has had to combat this and kind of poach students away is to appeal to what the degree is trying to appeal to, which is kind of esports and the kind of gaming world as a whole. So one of the potential ideas is a module. It'll be part of the comp science degree, but it'll be an elective that anyone can do. I think it'll be first years, they've said, so it will probably be open to. So that won't start this year, it'll start September 2019 if it happens. So I'm currently working with comp sci to write the elective handbooking thing. The idea is to kind of
Learning objectives.
that's the one. Yeah, the idea is to kind of steal like other kind of electives and kind of bend them a bit. So obviously one of the like weeks will be on like sports law and like kind of applying that. What the fuck are you doing?
I don't even do it.
Applying that to esports. The bit will be like psychology. So obviously you got what are they called?
What?
The people that do the thing with the head.
Sports psychology.
That's the one. Sports psychologists. Applying that to esports as well.
Yes.
And then obviously like a business module and like all those sort of stuff. So it's to kind of help drag the university, kicking and screaming into the 21st century. But yeah, that's one of the things.
And us having more members kind of shows that there is an
Yeah,
interest
we
in
actually have
this.
more members than most electives. So there's a fun fact for you.
We want to get a website going. A lot of university societies around esports have them. Like the Hearts one is sexy as fuck. So we want something similar to that. But there's also something about buying domains. Is it worth it? Who's going to do the upkeep? There's sort of things to consider. We want to talk about guest streamers and collaborations. Ollie's already talked about that. Sponsors. We know that we have quite a few sponsors. And we'd like, more sponsors is always good. But that actually just put me off. We know more sponsors is good, but who's gonna collaborate with all these people? Who's gonna make sure that we're doing the reviews? Who's gonna make sure that we're keeping in contact with everyone? That's something for you to consider.
Yeah, as a follow on from that, anyone who's thinking of running for committee, in September our contract with Enhanced ends or runs out. Now obviously there's potential to renew it, but Overclockers have also got people that are interested in sponsoring the society. Peripheral companies, which they can't do whilst we have this current contract. So obviously anyone who's on committee in September will want to consider that, whether you stick with the people that you've got already or whether you want to branch out to new companies or whatever. So yeah, just kind of food for thought really.
Yeah, I mean obviously Enhance are great. Literally we just ask them for anything and they're more than happy to give it to us.
Yeah.
But there may be companies that you know of that you want to be interested in us, and it's down to you to reach out to them.
Yeah.
We want to represent all games better. We know that a lot of games have kind of come onto our radar this year, like Dota and Siege. We started to realize that maybe we don't represent those as well as others. And I think that's also down to just our committee. It's mostly League and players, one CS player and an Overwatch player. Like, we don't really play lots of other games as much as we try to.
I guess at the end of the day, the society was started as like a league society
It was made
and
for
got
league.
told to do esports by the SU. So we have spent a while trying to find our foot with that and like kind of open up to new things. So obviously, the first year we added the Overwatch and CS:GO reps, and now this year we've got all the game leaders. So obviously next year the plan is to shake it up a bit more, just kind of have reps for all the games. I mean, we'll go on to that further on, but kind of as long as there is an audience for it, we're happy to support it. Is is our kind of motto. It's a really shit motto, but the idea is as long as there are people interested.
Be in Latin and it would sound better.
Yeah, Matt, get on that.
Put it in Latin.
But yeah, as long as there's an audience and people willing to put the time and effort in, then we're willing to support those people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also something to consider when you're voting. Even though you may play League and you may know all the League players, you're going to probably vote for other League players. But it's something to think about that you might want a good spread of games of representation. And the final thing is our organisation of LANs. We know that we've been slack on this, very slack on this. But
we had one, and then there was snow.
There was snow. But we'd like to have kind of like a system in place that we know that we can just set one up, basically in a week and get it out there. Yeah. So these are key events. These are what we want to keep going. You guys, in the future, you're down to add more or get rid of some, but it's something that, we started now and we'd like to keep them going. Obviously, the esports varsity, that's something we think should happen every year, once a year at least, preferably switching between us and stats and back and forth. Anti-socials, we want those to be kind of like weekly or fortnightly. The Barnes Bar socials, again, we want to keep those going. Something we did with the Counter-Strike Open, we like to do that with other games. We know that like the first one we did, it kind of went quite badly. It was a bit of a trial run. But now that we know how to do it, we'd like to keep it going for next year. Those of you know about the York Frag Sock event, this big invitational LAN event. We'd like to do something here. We think it really puts you on the map if you do that. Yeah, and the League 1v1 tournament that Ollie recently did.
Where's the winner? Where is it? There he is.
There he is. No, you stay down. Yeah.
Have you got your RP yet? Yeah.
So let's do more of those. Those are quite easy to run. So yeah. These are our sponsors so far. You can see what they all provide for us. We try to keep not much overlap. That's kind of the biggest thing. Things like overclockers and noble chairs are kind of one and the same almost. But it's all things that help us do the events that we do. Organising tournaments, the servers for them, Twitch to stream the tournaments. That's what we want to do. But if you want to add more, then that's fine. We're more than happy. Some big names in computing and stuff like that are starting to get into university esports, like Asus and overclockers as well. We're really lucky to have overclockers so close to us.
Just down the road.
Yeah, so that was one of our first ones. Okay, so this is kind of about the new committee roles. They've changed quite a bit. Probably Ollie's going to chime in and talk about this a bit. I mean, you don't have to. But I was just saying, like, you want to? Do you want to start here?
You go that one. Okay. Alright, so as far as I'm concerned, I think only 2 roles are basically going to stay the same. And that would be president and secretary, because there's nothing wrong with them. Social sec, currently they do socials, but it would be nice if they also do social media as well, obviously. Just smaller like Facebook posts, the occasional tweet that like me and Tyler tend to just go on Twitter and just reply with a GIF or something like that.
Yeah.
Just that. It's not difficult to do, but it helps a lot. People see your name regularly. I think the social sec should be in charge of LANs as well, myself. I think kind of giving them like the event manager type of role. If someone was specifically in charge of LANs in the same way that Ash is in charge of varsity right now, then it's going to happen and there's someone to blame if it doesn't happen, as opposed to there being a bunch of people who should be working on it together but no one's really taken the leadership on it. So that role essentially will shift more towards event stuff, but it will continue doing what it already is. Treasurer, so it will continue doing what it is now, which is just finances, but that's all it does now. And when there's no expenses, there's just nothing to do for it, right? So we're thinking maybe push it towards like a vice president type of role. It's necessary to have a second in command, someone that when the president is busy, they're able to give like the next opinion, keep the president in shape if they're being stupid on some things. Like Alex has definitely helped you out in the past.
Yep.
And also just someone that generally helps people. Like that role is kind of necessary. I think we were speaking to Sam Gibbons about it or something. We have to keep treasurer because treasurer, president, and secretary are like necessary. I think.
You have to have president, secretary, and treasurer. You're allowed to rename them, but they have to still do that role.
Yeah, so treasurer might be renamed to vice president, but they'll be the person in charge of finances. So game rep manager. All of the reps that are currently on committee and then the game leaders will go off committee. They don't need to be there. And they'll all be game reps and they'll all do what they do now, but they just won't have a committee role because simply put, someone that is in charge of organising CSGO teams or something doesn't really need a vote in how the society's finances work. It adds too many people to the committee. It's just an imbalance of the amount of workload as well. Like especially the smaller games like League is a serious amount of work in comparison to Dota. No offense, but it's just hard to balance it. And again, the game leaders and game reps are just the same thing. It's just numbers are a little bit different. Why should one be committee and the other not? So that's just going to go. And then we get one person to oversee them all, which will be like game rep manager or something like that. I think I touched the screen. Whoops. So the name's not set on it. I don't really. Game rep manager doesn't sound too good. Stuff like tournament official or game manager, or whatever. Technical difficulties. Either way, that will be a thing. We're very set on that happening. And then lastly, content producer. So this needs a dedicated role. I've been doing it all. It's too much work. It needs to be its own separate thing. And it doesn't. One thing I want to make very clear: it does not need to be one person doing everything. They just need to make sure it is happening, right? Yeah. They don't need to make every YouTube video. They can edit them, but they just need to make sure they're being made by someone.
I think, in our opinion, every committee member should be in some way contributing to content, whether it be on social media or videos or streams. It should be something that you're all doing, because to have one person do it is a lot of effort.
So, for example, my Facebook updates, maybe I still continue doing them next year if I'm still on committee. If I'm not doing this role, maybe this person just edits it for me or something like that. They're just in charge of the fact that content is being made. It doesn't have to be them. Twitch, they will be in charge of the stream. So like I mentioned earlier, that we want to branch out and have more people doing it. They'll be in charge of it. Again, don't need to be the streamer. Just make sure streams are happening 9 hours a week. And then, so the possibly tournament officer. So what might happen is this game rep manager gets overloaded with work. There will be, unless there's like a new introduction of another game, there will be 9 game reps, I think. That's a lot for one person to oversee. There may be a case where it's just too much, in which case we introduce this tournament officer, whatever. They will then be in charge of the competitive side of things. So Newell representation, making sure we're going to like Fragsock, King of the North. They'll probably then start working with social secretary for lands and stuff like that. They'll just become the competitive person, and then the game rep manager. Did I touch it again, or am I?
I just feel you.
It's just felt me.
There you go.
And the game rep manager will take a bit more of a social aspect and just make sure that people are getting involved in games. And then potentially vice president.
That's kind of just a renaming.
Yeah, essentially. So I think that's it. What's next?
Hang on. So just to kind of go over, the problem we've got at the moment is that everyone on committee's been on committee for at least 2 years. So we can rely on each other to do stuff that doesn't necessarily fall within those roles.
It's felt like it.
Are you still touching stuff?
No, I've not been on committee for 2 years.
You don't count.
Yeah,
Most. I said most.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Okay.
But yes, obviously, I know I can trust Tyler to go do something to do with Enhance, because that's kind of who they correspond with, even though he's the CSGO rep. Like, that kind of doesn't make sense, even though it's totally fine and Tyler's able to do it. We're kind of just trying to streamline it and make sure things are kind of going to the right people and the right person's doing the right job, if that makes sense. So it's not kind of crossing wires, because it's like, oh, can someone put a post about this? And then we all kind of sit in the chat and be like, oh, well, I'm busy. Oh, well, I'm busy. And like, it doesn't happen. So if we have someone that's dedicated to do those things, then if they are busy, they say, so and so, can you do it for me? Or, you know what I mean? It's delegating more efficiently and just making sure things get done. And so we kind of avoid having stuff not being done. That's kind of just...
on the agenda, there is a document that is just like clearly lays out exactly what was wrong with the previous committee roles and why the new ones are. So if you want to see a full detailed thing, just click on that.
Just out of curiosity, who's planning on running for committee next year? You don't have to put your hand up. It'd just be kind of helpful to know.
Richie, put your hand down. He's going to run for every role, so you better vote for him, okay? And then he won't be able to pick any of them if he's got them all. Right, perfect.
So we will do another open meeting when elections are live, so everyone can kind of stand and give a talk about their manifestos and the role.
Maybe get a social.
Yeah, probably maybe a meeting into a social or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably a bit more casual in Barnes Bar or something. Just kind of A, so people know who you are, and B, we get to hear what your ideas are. A bit more informal, I guess. Yeah.
Should I talk about this?
Yeah, sure.
Back to Tyler.
So,
you're in front of the mic.
So some things to consider now. You want to start thinking about your manifesto, what you want to do on committee next year, what you want to change about the society. You might want some pretty pictures. Put a picture of yourself so everyone knows who you are. Make something on Photoshop, just make it eye-catching. Try and like tell a story of your manifesto as you go through it. Like say your aims, like bullet point your aims at the start, and then like talk about things you've done in the past, a bit about yourself.
Be realistic.
Yeah.
Don't say you want to like spend thousands of pounds on a state-of-the-art esports building. It's not going to happen. Just,
specifically for the game rep manager, whatever it's called, in your manifesto, you need to make it clear that you don't just play one game, and that you're you don't have to play every single game. That's just not realistic. No one's going to do that. But make it clear that you're very open to helping, regardless of the title.
Yeah.
If I don't see that you've said that, I'm definitely not voting for you.
Yeah, well, you need to be able to understand as well. So, if you only play League and the guy who's running PUBG comes to you and says, I've got a problem, and you go, I don't know anything about that, so good luck. You know what I mean? That's not really helpful. So it's just, it's about being open-minded, willing to learn, willing to help, because obviously that's what your role is. Very much be part of helping, the game leaders, game reps, do their job.
Talk about how you'd improve the society. So based on the points I've talked about, how would you improve those things? What would you fix? Any specific skills that you have? If you're an amazing graphic designer, if you're a video editor, if you already have a successful stream, those sorts of things. Just talk about those. Specifically, you're going for the content producer role. You should be pretty down with that.
Or at least willing to learn. Start of the year, I didn't know how to edit videos. I still don't, but I can't do graphic content at all. I've still not been able to do that. So if anyone can do that, that would be appreciated. Because I can't, and you're leaving, right?
Maybe. I'm still here, but yeah.
And if you run for another role, say you're running for secretary, but you can still do graphic stuff, mention it, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get in because of that point. But if the PR person is really good at content but not necessarily good at graphics, you can. If the content, all these name changes. If the content thingy knows how to do like Twitch and stuff, but doesn't necessarily know how to make pretty graphics, then you're able to help out, even though that's not necessarily your role. It's all about kind of being as helpful as possible whilst on. Actually, why are you asking questions? You're on committee.
Well, I don't know. I was only like half focused. Did you ask if anyone has any questions about the roles?
We're going to do it after.
I'll do questions at the end.
Do it after.
It's just easier.
That's me.
I'd rather just breeze through this quickly.
Maybe if you were sat with the rest of us.
Okay. And the last thing, just personal details about yourself, what course you're on, you know, what games you play, how long you played them, have you been to LANs before,
Link your Twitter.
yeah,
Maybe
The entire
follow
B
by
movie.
Mule.
link your Bebo, you know, that sort of, yeah. Just let people get to know you, and obviously this social that we do will be a good chance to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, is that it?
I think so.
If everything's is going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright,
Okay.
Go
There
back
you
to
go.
the
Beautiful. What you want to go back to this?
Go back to the roles
Yeah, yeah.
and then
Yeah. Are there any questions about either the roles or
Whether-
anything?
it's just there, is it?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Any questions?
That one, this one.
No,
This one.
really. No questions.
Nothing.
Are we allowed to kick Ollie off committee?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
ban him from
Oh, you have
committee?
no. You have to
Technically,
vote.
yes.
I mean, you have to vote on
Technically,
it.
there has to be an executive vote. Ollie holds one of the 3 executive roles.
Who's the other two?
Me and Nathan.
Yeah.
Technically, Alex as well. He made
Oh,
my
yeah, technically.
Technically,
He's not here.
he's with Newell now.
We can, technically. Doesn't mean we will.
Why is he still here?
Another thing, if you're struggling with your manifesto, you don't know what to put in it, you can ask one of us. We'll probably give you some pointers on it.
Do we know when the date is?
Yeah.
I think Sam was saying something like Easter holiday.
The Easter holiday. No, it's not. That's
That's the period you can put up your manifesto.
Yeah. The times are somewhere on the SU's website. We'll find them and we'll put them on the page for everyone who's wanting to run. There'll be loads of information going out on the email, on the Facebook page, basically everywhere when it starts. Yeah, we'll do a social to get everyone kind of talking about their stuff.
Campaigning. What is allowed, what isn't on social media?
So on social media, you are allowed to. We, as old committee, are not allowed to endorse anyone through anything other than the discussion board. You can post about yourself on the discussion board. I think we'll set up some sort of limit on how many times you can post, because if you post 10 times, I'm not going to vote for you.
That's the hard limit.
Need to set a limit.
I mean, I think be sensible is what I'm going to say. If
Don't
it
just spam
starts
the page
being
for
a
a
bit
week.
annoying, yeah. Like if you're in the Twitch and just constantly spamming your manifesto link, you will be banned from chatting in the chat, and that will harm you more than it will do good.
Oh, yeah, don't remember there's some annoying people, you know, with the like SU elections that was like commenting on everyone's post, like, oh yeah, by the white manifesto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're allowed to post onto the Keele Student Life page, if you want. I don't know how many
Discord,
people read
keep
that.
it to general.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
just don't
Keep it to the
spam
Dover
anything.
chat.
We will kind of deem what's sensible. If it's not sensible, we'll remove it, give you a warning. If you continue to do it, you'll be kind
Yeah.
of blacklisted from posting. I think that's fair.
Matt just said you can make like an elections group channel.
Oh, yeah, text chat for her. Whose hand was up first? The two of you were both. Take turns.
Yeah, I was just going to say, perhaps I feel like the social secretaries should be, if it's the same person doing the social events like the LANs and the socials, and also the sort of like PR side, I feel like that could perhaps be split into 2 positions.
So,
I feel like you could probably have
so
someone-
That's something the tournament officer, when we're talking about LANs, that's something the
Yeah.
tournament officer could
Oh, fair
do.
enough. Oh, I thought that it would be the social secretary that would do that.
it probably will be, because in all honesty, booking a social is emailing once, and then if it's already booked, then you got it, and then you just have to come up with an idea.
Hopefully, it should get to the point where lands are literally so easy, as in
It's one
email IT and you email booking, and the rest of it should be straightforward enough to be done in
So,
a matter of minutes.
It seems like it's a lot of work, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just concerned that perhaps, okay, well that's better then, because I thought that you'd have someone that was then managing the Discord, like moderating the Discord, and then also the Facebook and like the Facebook discussion group, and then doing all that as well. So I thought that.
I mean, that shouldn't all fall on one person. Like everyone will have to
Yeah.
do that, but there'll be one person who will like mediate it all.
You got your.
One of them was just an idea, like on Discord, maybe have a channel for people to put the links for their manifestos.
I think setting up an election channel for
Yeah.
Other thing as well was people posting to the Facebook page. Are you doing? I mean, obviously it's not like level of SU elections. So are people going to have separate like election pages? Or
It'd be
it's not really
unnecessary.
worth doing?
No, it's. I wouldn't. I mean, you can. Like, there's
yeah,
nothing that
we're
stops you.
more important than the rest of the SU.
Nothing stops you from doing that. I just honestly, you won't gain anything from doing that. You're better off advertising yourself within the people that pay attention.
If your second name starts with a G, your campaign's logo has to be Go for so and so.
Yeah, that is rules.
You absolutely have to.
Yeah.
To talk about the game reps, it will just be, unless like a new game sort of springs up and gains a lot of attention, kind of like how Fortnite did. We'll keep it to, oh god, there's 9. I'm gonna forget one. League, Overwatch, CS:GO, Rocket League, Dota, PUBG, Hearthstone, Siege, and Battle yeah,
Battle
dead game, I swear. So we're kind of discussing how we want to integrate the game reps, the way they'll be picked, because they're not committee role.
Is anyone thinking of running for a game rep position as opposed to a committee position? Out of general curiosity.
Sims 4 one of the games.
You can.
Yeah, so you can be both. You can be on committee and be a game rep.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're the league game rep, you do what Jack does. If you're the CS:GO rep, you do what Tyler does.
So the way they'll be picked is with an interview system, the same way we did at the start of the year. Is it relevant, or can I finish my point?
It's relevant.
Okay.
Your point follows nicely.
Okay, go.
Have you said how we're like deciding what game is represented by the society?
Right, yeah. Okay, so essentially, a rough 5 percentile of the of all of our members is 9 people. So we're just sort of like, if there's 9 people for it, then it can be represented, right? That's usually enough for a team. I looked at like the average numbers from the survey we did at the start of the year, and the minimum was about 10 for the games we represent. So 9 seems fine.
I think as long as there's enough players for like 1 or 2 teams, like I say strong teams as in not competitively strong, but teams that are willing to play every week or every time there's a tournament. I know because I think Dota had 2 teams, and then was it 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's like 9 players.
And now none, right?
Yeah. So like that sort of thing. As long as there's enough people that are consistently willing to be involved, then they kind of deserve to be supported and represented.
The kind of big problem is something like PUBG. You know, by the time of next year, it could not be as a thing anymore. So you have to kind of be prepared that, like, we kind of might have to get rid of game reps, really.
Yeah, which is another reason why they're not committee roles. Sometimes a game will die out. It's going to happen. And like, if you're elected into committee, you realistically have to stay for the year unless you have that awkward system of like voting someone out.
Yeah, people can step down from roles and people can be kicked from roles. It's very unusual that someone does. But obviously, yeah, if you get on committee, it's kind of expected that you do it for the whole duration. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, so to repeat, game reps, they will be picked at the end of the year, like after elections. That will be an interview thing. It'll probably be with the game rep manager and like the president.
It'll be really... I think we'll probably try and get the old committee, so the current roster committee and new committee to kind of work together on that, so that we kind of hand over properly.
You can be a committee member and a game rep. So one thing we aren't decided on, we wanted to hear everyone's opinion on. What privileges should the game reps get?
So what sort of, as a game rep, if you were a game rep, what would you expect to be able to do?
Are you an admin on the Facebook page? Are you an admin on the Discord? Should you have access to the society accounts? All that sort of stuff. Yes. Yeah.
Not like, oh, it'd be nice to have everything because I can use it when I want it. It's more, what would you need to
Yeah,
use?
what do you need access to is the general question, as opposed to what you think. Hey, I'd love to know what's happening. You know what I mean? It's more what you can actually make beneficial.
Things is like the committee chats.
Yeah.
Because like we have committee chats and then we have game rep chats. Should game reps be in committee chats?
Probably.
Personally, I'd say no, just for communication reasons.
Yeah. So currently.
There's a lot of background committee stuff that isn't really relevant to.
Currently, we have a game leaders chat that a couple of the committee members are in. So I'm in it, Ollie's in it, and Matt's in it.
And Alex.
And he doesn't count. But obviously, so that's kind of for communicating with the secretary for booking events, obviously for me for any kind of general questions, and then for Matt for any sort of graphical content. So that's the way we've kind of done it this year. Maybe next year there's a chat with everyone in, or maybe you just have the tournament manager in with the game leaders, or sorry, the game rep leader, or whatever it's called.
We'll finalise it.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm leaving. I don't care about the names. whatever that is, you kind of. At the moment, we have 2 chats for committee. We have a general chat and an important chat because we chat shit in one chat and chat shit in the other, but it's important shit.
It's one of the reasons why we're downsizing committee from 9 to 6 roles. Is there's too many people, there's too many messages, you can't read everything. Also, I want to get everyone using Slack next year because it's good stuff.
What he said.
Yeah.
It's like Discord for big boys.
Okay.
Yeah, that big boy Discord. Is there anything else?
Any more questions? Anything anyone wants to know about or curious about? Esports related, Patrick.
What's an esport?
Oh, for God's sake, get out.
Oh yeah, okay. So game reps. Currently this year we've never had, outside of the first one, a game leader specific meeting. We had one to meet them all, and then we've not already had one since.
Yeah.
There will be next year, for sure. I'm not sure how regular that would be. Maybe like every 3rd meeting or something would have the game reps, but they need to be more involved. We need to be more openly communicating with them. They will be much more important next year. They just won't have that committee titles, but they need to be treated like it.
Yeah.
They need to feel special, you know.
Yeah. Kind of one final point for anyone that's planning on running. Obviously, you'll have your group of friends and like teammates and stuff, but the society has got almost 200 people in it. There will be a lot of people voting that you've never met or who've never even posted on stuff, but still are members and will still vote in the elections. So just kind of make sure you're not directing yourself to just your friend group, because if you come across as like kind of jokingly arrogant or anything, people aren't going to vote for you, and you might lose out on a role just because you're trying to be too funny or something. It's like a general warning.
Also, the reason we're doing this is because we've seen societies from other universities fail, like once their committees move on.
Is it Aston?
Aston, yeah.
There's one down south as well, was one of the biggest in the country and just fell apart. So
they used to be huge, and then their committee moved on, and the next committee just didn't pick up anything. So yeah, we want you guys. We want to be transparent with you, so you guys know what is happening, so that you can, pick things up as easily as possible.
And I guess a final point. We will still be contactable in the future, even if it's on Facebook or whatever. The old committee we still exist. We're not just going to die tomorrow. So any kind of questions or anything you're unsure about, you would be okay to message us about. Like, we're not going to turn around and be like, oh, we don't care anymore. We're still around.
Last thing really to mention, please write a good manifesto, and when you go to vote, if you see 3 names and you recognise one of them, don't just vote for them because you recognise it. Read 3 manifestos.
Or just vote for the cutest man.
Or that. That too. This is why Ash is on committee, guys. No, wait, this is why we're getting rid of reps. Yeah. Okay.
Are there any questions from here or the Twitch chat, Matt?
There's nothing on Twitch.
Any questions?
Would the next president show up to esports events?
Oh shit.
So that's a shot at me.
Oh god.
Socials are on Friday nights. Lots of gigs are on Friday nights. I like music. But also, I do a lot of shit behind doors, so I don't really care. You can insult me as much as you like.
Yeah, just like Fortnite being a rep at us or...
Yeah.
I haven't talked about
Ashley. Yeah.
Josh just made a good point, so I'm not taking credit for it.
Yeah.
Voting incentive. What do people get if they vote? Otherwise, you might
a good committee.
Yeah, you get a good committee. Huh?
Yeah. We can't really promise you a dog or anything. The SU do.
Do sort of joke things because the SU the officers have to do dares.
Yeah.
I feel do you mean just encouraging people to vote? Yeah, I mean we could do something like that. Maybe shave Ollie's head on stream or something.
Speaking of dares,
no.
I lost a 1v1.
Someone turn the stream off.
And the wager was a speech to be read out on stream. So I've not read this yet. I've not read this. This has been sent by Salford. So, to my fellow Keelians, forgive me. A man dies once his spirit leaves his body, and again when the world forgets his name. After that day, I know I'll never truly get the second death I deserve. I've brought dishonour on my family, dishonour on my uni, and most importantly, dishonour on my Newell admin naked calendar. I know my name will go generations, mocked and abused, and I know most of all, I deserve it. I threw down the gauntlet, I picked up my weapon, and I raised our banner to lose once to a man who I believed below me was worse than death. But to lose twice, ... I now understand the true difference between us. I stand as a meagre infant in the towering presence of the epitome of a man. Snowblind. How naive the challenge was. How foolish. Still a second time. He rode into battle atop his mighty lion's steed. God, this is fucking long. Hair glistening like the gems on his armor. Beautiful, terrifying, I stood there. Legs shaking, an insect in his shadow, much like the champion that fought for me. My fear was absolute, my pride and manhood relinquished. I ask you now to document what you hear me say today, so that my dishonor may made clear to the world, in hopes of me one day gaining redemption. I myself must disappear. I don't deserve the company of others. I can no longer feel the warmth of companionship after facing down that icy glare of someone so superior to me. I need to disappear and think about what's happened. I need time and space. If everyone here today could unfollow me on Twitter, don't watch my streams, ignore me on Discord, look to Salford Esports Society, the paradise to the north, flock to them through Twitter and Twitch, praise their glory, sponsored by Twitch Prime, by the way, vote for me for president. Okay, there we go. That's it. That was good.
Anything else? No? Alright. There you go, meeting's done.